Let's now try and get an in-depth understanding of the assignment operator. I have a simple program on your screen right now. It's int main, int I is equal to 5. So instead of saying int I and then at a later point saying I is equal to 5, I can do a simplified assignment at the time of creation of a variable by saying int I is equal to 5. So int j is equal to 6. I could have also defined variables like this: I is equal to 5, comma j is equal to 6. That is allowed in C programming language. If I run this program, it prints the value of I and j. But I prefer the declarations like this. I really prefer separate declarations for each variable. But it's a matter of personal choice. If you like the other syntax, you can go ahead and use it. So int I is equal to 5, j is equal to 10, and I'm printing the values of I and j. What I want to do here is I would want to be able to swap the values of I and j. So I has a value of 5 and j has a value of 10. I would want to put a value of 10 in I and 5 in j. So how do I swap the values of I and j? Swapping means exchange of values. So if I have something and my friend has something else, swapping means I take what my friend has and I give my friend what I had earlier. So here swapping of variables means I has a value of 5, j has a value of 10. So I gets 10 and j gets 5. That's basically what swapping means. So the primitive program which typically starting programmers write is I is equal to j is equal to I, and they expect it to work. Would this work? Nope. Both of them have a value of 10. Why do these values have a value of 10? Think about it. Let's look at it in detail. Line 13, execution starts, I has a value 5. Line 14, j has a value 10. So that's very good. Now, what happens? Line 16, I is equal to j. It doesn't mean I and j are equal, but it means the value of j is copied into I. Value of j is taken and put into I. So what is the value of j? It's 10. So this value is taken and it's put into I. I is equal to j. The value of j is put into I. Value of j is 10. So I becomes 10 as well. Now j is equal to I. What is the value in I now? I had earlier had a value of 5, but now it has a value of 10. So this value is taken and put back in j. So what would be the value when it's printed in here? You would see 10 and 10 being printed. Understanding this particular thing is one of the most important challenges for a starting programmer. Once you understand this concept very well, then you can understand a lot of things in programming very easily. So what is happening in here? I is equal to j. I is equal to j doesn't mean I and j are equal. It means I take the value of j and I put it in I. When I started running this program, let's do it again. So I has a value of 5 first. J has a value of 10. So j has a value of 10. When I say I is equal to j, what happens is the value of j is put in I. The value of j is 10. 10 is put into I. So 10 is put into I. So the 5 is lost. So nowhere in memory the value of 5 would be stored thereafter. So now the code execution moves to the next line. J is equal to I. Now I has a value of 10. So the 10 would be put into j. J is equal to I. So I value is copied into j. 10. This is copied into j. No change. So now I and j both have a value of 10, and that is what is printed into the console. Think about how I can really swap two variables. Don't worry if you are not able to get this right, because this is one of the toughest challenges for a starting programmer. The way we do the swapping of variables is by creating another variable called k. So we use a temporary variable called k. So what I would do is actually I would use k to store the value of I. So the initial value of I would store it into k, and at this point I gets overridden with the value of j. So what would happen? K is equal to I. At this point, what would be the value in k? K at this point will have a value of I, which is 5, right? So k is equal to I value is copied into k. So k will have a value of 5. I will have a value of 5. J would have a value of 10. Now, the next statement, I is equal to j. So what would happen? K, I'm not changing. The value of j is copied into I. So the value of j is 10. 10 is copied into I. So I becomes 10. I'm not changing the value of j. So j remains 10. Next, I'm saying j is equal to I. So what happens? K, no change in the value. I am not changing the value also. What I'm doing is copying the value of I into j. So what is the value of I? I is 10. 10 is copied into j. J is equal to 10. So this does not work. This does not swap the values because I has a value of 10 and j has a value of 10. For it to work, what I should do is I need to copy the value of k. K has the value of 5, which is the earlier value of I. So what I would need to do is j is equal to k. So if I do j is equal to k after this line, so k will have a value of 5. I am not changing it. So I will still have the value of 10. And j is equal to k. So j will get a value of k, which is 5. So now the value of I and j are swapped. Earlier I had a value of 5, j had a value of 10. Now I has a value of 10 and j has a value of 5. And when I run this program now, it would swap the values and okay, I is 10 and j is 5. And we were able to swap the values of I and j. Very big success. I think if you are able to understand how this swap program is working, then you can give yourself a high five, because understanding the swap program is for me is one of the fundamental stepping stones of becoming a programmer.